Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. I'm Vi, and today we're doing a little bit of a tutorial on how to do my animated display links that I did in my previous episode of Makeshift SMP. I'm in a creative test world, a creative version of the world that we play on, and I was gonna showcase that, but evidently in the what the frick is exactly? This is exactly, yeah, stuff's weird. I don't know. This is some sort of display. I don't know, man. And also the display got deleted whenever I downloaded the version of the world. So I guess I can't really showcase that. Or you know what we can do? This is the display board I'm talking about. So we have a group of display boards assembled in a series of different entities, and whenever you remove the lower display boards, it preserves the letters. And I want to do a quick tutorial on how to do that in your world, because yes, this is completely possible in survival, because that's how I do it here on the server. Johnny, how's it going? Back over to the creative world. But yeah, I'm gonna do a quick little tutorial on how to do this assembly process for how to make these display boards. It didn't really have time for it in my episode, plus it wasn't really a tutorial anyway. So if I grab out a display board, I can kind of show you what we're working with. Now, the initial setup is going to be pretty simple. It doesn't have to be vertical. These can be, several blocks wide if you want. And for initial purposes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a quick creative motor with a few cogwheels. So now that we've got a few display boards set up, I can go ahead and give this a creative motor. And if I give this a little bit of speed, these will actually update. I think you only need like 64 to update a display board. That looks about right. Usually it'll give you like a little bit of warning, like in an overlay right here, if it's not fast enough, but this should be enough. Whenever we assemble these, it's a really, really simple process. All we need is a display board where you want to be able to display your text, a column of some sort of block. It does not have to be lightning rods or end rods or anything that's thin like that. These can be just standard blocks. That part just does not matter. It only matters that you have something there. It's just a little bit easier to place these inside of an assembled entity whenever it's a not full block. So like a wall or like I said, a lightning rod. Now if I go ahead and throw some of these back in here, we have something to update the displays here on top, and then we have the structure that's going to actually be super glued together. And essentially this process is super, super simple. Now there's a plethora of ways to actually assemble this as an entity after you've super glued it, but the easiest way that I've found is to just have a sequence gear shift on bottom. If you go into the instructions, you want it to say turn by angle, and then you just lower this down to 21. Because that's approximately the angle that you would want to turn each time if you were to assemble this with one wide displays. So if you assemble this and then you give this a button and then super glue all of this together, you'll want to super glue the topmost block of the display board and then none of the rest of it. It's really important that you leave that behind. Otherwise, the words will just be displayed on the display board. And I think it's a little bit less cool that way. Obviously, you still can if you want to. If you want to have the display board as a nice background texture, it's a good one. But the way I prefer to do it is so that there's no display board. It's just a little bit cooler when there's just floating words in the world. And so now if I want to get a clipboard, and maybe I can go down here and steal a little bit of text from a sign, paste that in here. Now I can go up to my display link. We'll actually do this on the wider one. It'll look a little bit better. And I want to leave this top row blank because this is the one that gets super glued to the contraption. And this is the one we're going to cover up whenever we actually assemble this as an entity. So if I go ahead and click this right here, beautiful. Now we have all these fancy colors. I can grab out some dye. Lime green is a personal favorite when you're trying to do anything with cyberpunk. You can dye all of these lime green. And it gives you the animation when you do like a glow ink sac. Like whenever you click this, it does it's very subtle. If you look real close, it does glow subtly, but I think it doesn't really matter. Like you don't have to do that whenever you assemble this yourself. I just don't think it's really that required. Like it doesn't really change the visuals all that much. But yeah, if I want to do that same thing on all of these faces, dyeing each one of these lines. And actually, I'm pretty sure I don't need these top corners. I think I can get rid of those. I'll just have to re-update this. Now that we have our structure all glued together, we have the displays updated to what we want. We actually don't even need this power up top here. I can actually just delete that. It doesn't matter. These displays will retain this information and it'll keep it on display here. And now if we want to go ahead and assemble this into the world, all we have to do is give it some sort of power on the bottom. And with our sequence gear shift tuned to turning by 21 degrees, all we have to do is hit this with a button. And that's not going to do anything because I'm a dummy. You do want to set this. You want to make sure your mechanical bearing by default is set to always place when stopped. You want to slide this all the way to the right. And so it's going to say only place when the anchor is destroyed, meaning that this will only place the contraption back in the world once this block here, the mechanical bearing, is broken. And something I didn't do before here is I actually need to have this, I need to actually have the sequenced gear shift hooked up to an encased chain drive. That way we can continue this up a block, add another mechanical bearing, and assemble another contraption inside the one that we're about to assemble. So if I go ahead and give that a power, it's going to turn that by 21 degrees. It's going to delete the, why did it do that? Let's try this again. I think what happened is that this entire top row needs to be glued. We're going to try that. I've never done it with more than one wide myself. We give this the display. Oh, yeah, this isn't updating up here. Now, with the top of all these structures glued together, I should be able to assemble this. Let's try that again. Nope. Why you no assemble? The other ones are doing fine. Why you no assemble? What's up with that? Okay, now it seems to have worked. Another kind of funny thing about these displays is that when you're looking at it from the backside, they won't render. You'll only be able to see the text from this side. Now, since I did this in a 3 wide, I'm actually going to go ahead and power this one more time. So it actually goes 42 degrees, 21 times 2. And now I should... it's really close to being perfect. Let me give it like 1 or 2 more degrees. Let's just see what 1 degree looks like. That's really close. Really close. Oh, that's just about perfect right there. So now that we have this at the angle we want, because this is going to be a hexagon now, I'm going to go ahead and grab some more display boards. We're going to add those, and they will place inside the contraption. If you go ahead and turn on your hitboxes, you'll notice that this entire thing has just become an entity now. I can go ahead and place in more display boards here, add back the text, re-dye them. And once we have all the display boards displaying the text or characters that we want to see, we can go back down here to the mechanical bearing. We can add in a shaft right here, an encased chain drive here and here. And one thing that I do whenever I assemble this part of the contraption is I make sure to not place it on top of this mechanical bearing. There's you'll just place this back in the world, because what you do whenever you want to reassemble a structure like this is you'll right click this with an empty hand. But if you place something on top of it, there's a chance that it'll actually place back in the world and it'll delete all your progress thus far. You add your encased chain drive here, and then you place it off of that encased chain drive like so. And if it's facing upward, you've done it correctly. You grab another mechanical bearing, and then you place that inside the contraption facing upward, the same way that one is. You make sure this is set again to only place when anchor is destroyed, and then you go ahead and place in a bunch more lightning rods on top of your mechanical bearing, up to the location where the display boards meet up here at the top. This here's another reason why I don't like using full blocks. Now it's going to be really, really hard to get inside that block and place another lightning rod, especially in survival. I can stick my head inside this entity because I'm in creative mode, but in survival that wouldn't really be possible. Something you can kind of do to combat this is if you have a shaft, you can place it facing this way, and then you can place a block off of that shaft and then turn it to assemble it in the contraption. We'll just use a cogwheel this time. So now if I stick my head inside this block entity, you can see that there is a cogwheel inside this block. Actually, don't want to use a cogwheel. Let's use a full block. Oh, unless you have the encase mod added to your instance. If I shift right click, I should be able to place it off of that block. And then if you were using shafts to assemble this, you could just turn it. I'm just using lightning rods, so I can just break it and then replace that back. And then lightning rods here and there, and there and there. And then we just got to make sure we glue everything back together in another contraption. So we have the 3 across the top to do a display board. And then we go all the way across the top here, including all the lightning rods, and then the top of this display board here. And remember, these ones on the angle, these are not real blocks. They're not placed in the world. So I don't have to worry about those. Those are already a contraption. And so now that the top is all super glued together, I can go back under here. I can click it on the full block right there and then go all the way down to the bottom and super glue all those lightning rods together. And checking again that this says only place when anchor is destroyed, I can actually remove my sequence gear shift since we have the full assembled thing, and I can just make this turning constant. As you can see, at 16 RPM, it's a little bit crazy, but if I go ahead and turn this all the way down to like 2, it's got like a nice movement to it. It's not too fast. It doesn't look too weird. And now I can officially go through and I can remove all these blocks here. These are not required anymore. And now you have a circular or, hexagonal display that you can have placed in your world. And if it has a constant rotation like this, you can make advertisements, you can do any sort of like hologram you want. It's a really, really cool and fun way to animate things in your Create world. I want to be upfront. I did not invent this. I saw this originally on the Create Mod subreddit. I have looked for that post. I cannot find this. I did see it tutorialized a bit by a creator by the name of Mike IC1397. I'll go ahead and link his channel in the description. He does a really fantastic tutorial on this as well. And the potential with this is pretty much limitless. Like, you don't have to stop at a circle. You can do different shapes. You can do like images drawn within this. This is just for people that saw my video, wondered what the heck I was doing and how I did it. I didn't really get the chance to include this in my episode. And then you can cover up those display links with pretty much any sort of decorative blocks that you want to do. I just threw something together here in a couple seconds. Wasn't anything too crazy. So long as those are non-full blocks, like if you place a full block in here, it will dim these, see, like that. It'll dim the blocks as the display link passes through. And so you just want to use transparent blocks for that if you're going to do any sort of decorative blocks to cover up the display links. But I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions about it, go ahead and hit me up in the comments. I'm not so much of a tutorial channel. I just kind of wanted to walk you guys through this. So if you come back for tutorials, I can't promise anything, but I can promise super duper high quality Let's Plays. Wow, that sounded really braggy. But yeah, I appreciate you so much for watching. If you liked the video, like it. And if you want to subscribe, do it. And I'll see you in the next one. I'm working on something real big. I literally had to make a tutorial video to fill in for my schedule. I wasn't going to upload this week because of how much progress I have to make in this. It's so big, guys. I think it's 500,000 blocks. Not kidding. Maybe more. I haven't actually done the calculations. I'll see you next time. Subscribe.